What if no one could ever shake you again? Not with words, not with silence, not with betrayal. Most men walk through life easily provoked. A disrespectful comment, a broken promise, a simple delay. Suddenly they're angry, bitter, or drained. Not because the world is cruel, but because they've never learned to master their emotional reactions. But the Stoics knew something we've forgotten. Power belongs to the man who stays calm under pressure. Mental strength isn't about force, it's about control. And self-control begins with one unshakable truth: you don't have to react. In this video, you're going to learn how to build stoic emotional control, how to stop letting people push your buttons, and how to protect your peace like a man who answers to no one's chaos. You'll understand why lowering your expectations isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Why silence isn't surrender, it's strategy. Why your emotions are not the enemy, but your reaction to them can be. If you've ever felt like people take your calm for granted, or that life constantly pulls you off balance, you're not alone. But today, that changes. This is not motivation, it's a transformation. Stay with me. What you're about to hear could shift how you deal with everything. If this speaks to you, like the video, subscribe and share this with someone who needs it. Because strength isn't loud, it's steady. And from this point on, nothing and no one gets to control your peace again. 1. Make self-control your shield. There's a moment, small, almost forgettable, when a man gives away his power. Someone interrupts him, someone mocks him, someone ignores him, and inside, a storm brews. His chest tightens, his jaw clenches, he speaks louder than necessary. Just like that, the calm is gone. Not because the other person was strong, but because he reacted. And in that reaction, he surrendered. We often mistake reaction for strength. We think the man who roars back is powerful. But the truth is colder. Power isn't in the noise, it's in the silence you choose. Self-control isn't the absence of emotion, it's the refusal to be ruled by it. You don't need to become numb, you need to become precise. Anger is instinct. It's fast, loud, hot, and dangerous. It feels like action, but it often leads to regret. When someone insults you and you explode, they win because they got to you. They dictated your state, and without knowing it, you let them write your script. A man who is easily provoked is a man who has no walls, no boundaries. His emotions are public property. Anyone can walk in, press a button, and own him for a moment. Now imagine another man. He hears the same insult, but nothing shifts. His breath remains steady. His gaze doesn't flinch. He's not suppressing a reaction. He has mastered it. Because he trained for this. Because he knows emotional control is not about appearing tough. It's about not giving strangers the keys to your peace. This is Stoic power. It's not about ego, it's about ownership of your time, your energy, your emotional space. You've probably experienced this before. You're in traffic, someone cuts you off, your pulse spikes, words rise to your lips, and for what? They're gone. But now you're tense, distracted, off balance. That's the cost of reaction. You pay for it long after the moment passes. The Stoic man knows this, so he pauses. He lets the urge come, but not take over. He breathes, he remembers, the world doesn't owe him perfect order. His control lies within. Most people live in survival mode, ready to defend, to prove, to retaliate. But that posture weakens you. It places your identity in the hands of others. If they offend you, you respond. If they praise you, you smile. You're no longer grounded, you're reactive. And a reactive man is a slave to the world's mood swings. So how do you build the shield? You start with the pause. When triggered, don't speak, don't move. Feel the wave inside you rise, and don't ride it. Observe it, acknowledge it, but don't obey it. That pause is your power. It's where you break the pattern. Over time, you become less reactive, more composed. You stop fighting noise with noise. You stop chasing justice in small conflicts. You protect your energy like it's your lifeblood, because it is. This isn't about being passive. A Stoic man doesn't ignore injustice, but he knows when to act and when to let go. He knows when to speak and when silence carries more force. He chooses his battles, and when he engages, he does so with clarity, not heat. You don't need to prove your strength, you need to own it. The loudest man in the room often lacks the most control. The quiet one, the calm one, the one who doesn't flinch. That's the man people feel. That's the man people respect. From this moment forward, let your first instinct not be reaction, but stillness. Let stillness become your habit. Let calm be your reputation. When you master that, you become untouchable. Not because the world stops testing you, but because it can no longer reach what it once controlled. 2. Lower expectations of others. You keep getting disappointed because you keep expecting too much. That's the trap. It begins quietly, with a thought that someone should know better, should do more, should understand. You expect them to say the right thing, to appreciate you, to respect your boundaries without being told. But when they don't, you feel it. Frustration, anger, even betrayal. You start to believe people are failing you. But the truth is simpler and harder. They're just being who they are. The pain doesn't come from their behavior. It comes from your expectation that they'd be someone else. Expectation is a silent contract you wrote, but no one else signed it. You thought a friend would defend you, a partner would be more patient, and a coworker would recognize your effort. But they didn't. And in that gap between what you hoped for and what you got, your peace disappeared. That gap is where resentment grows. You start to carry the weight of what you wish someone would be, and it begins to crush you. The Stoics didn't waste time blaming others for being who they were. Marcus Aurelius woke up every morning, reminding himself that he'd meet the ungrateful, the arrogant, the dishonest. Not because he was negative, because he was prepared. When you accept human nature, you stop demanding perfection. You stop handing your peace to the nearest disappointment. You don't expect silence from the storm or clarity from confusion. You learn to see people as they are, not as you want them to be. Imagine walking into a room expecting nothing. You don't assume the waiter will be polite, the driver will be calm, or your friend will remember your birthday. You simply observe, you engage, you respond, but you don't react. You've freed yourself from the leash of assumption. You're no longer shocked when someone disappoints you, because you've let go of the idea that they owe you something they never promised. That freedom, it's subtle, but it changes everything. Most men tie their inner peace to how others behave. A stranger's rudeness can ruin their morning. A family member's silence can trigger weeks of tension. But what if you could untie that knot? What if you stopped expecting others to deliver your peace to you wrapped in a bow? What if you stopped demanding that broken people act like whole ones? That's where Stoicism breathes. It meets reality on its own terms. It doesn't demand fairness from people who don't even know what fairness means. It doesn't ask for understanding from those who are still at war with themselves. It says, meet people where they are, and don't let it move you. Here's what you can do right now. Think of one person who keeps disappointing you. A friend, a colleague, a relative. Ask yourself, am I upset because of what they did, or because of what I thought they should do? Write it down. Say it aloud. Let that question become a mirror, because in that moment of reflection, you'll see it clearly. You weren't betrayed. You were just assuming too much. Lowering expectations doesn't mean becoming cold. It means becoming clear. It's not the death of hope. It's the birth of understanding. You don't need to stop loving people. You need to stop letting your hopes for them become the weapon they use to hurt you. Begin with this. Today, I will see others as they are, not as I wish them to be. I will no longer beg the rain to be sunshine. I will build a shelter instead. That's Stoic freedom, not from others, but from the burden of needing them to be something else. 3. Practice indifference to provocation. Some people don't want peace. They want your reaction. They poke, they prod, they wait for you to explode, because that's how they feel in control. When you lose your temper, they win. Not because they're stronger, but because they've dragged you into their chaos. The moment you react, you step into their frame. You let them decide who you become. And that's the real loss. Not the insult, not the argument, but the fact that you let them reach your center. Indifference is not apathy. It's not ignoring injustice or pretending something doesn't hurt. Indifference in the Stoic sense means this. You don't let anything that doesn't deserve your energy take it from you. You choose where your mind rests. You decide who gets access. You protect your focus like it's sacred. Because it is. Every time you let a fool provoke you, you abandon your throne and go fight in the mud. Think of the last time someone tried to get under your skin. A stranger on the road, a colleague who disrespected you in a meeting, a family member who always knows what to say to trigger you. You felt the fire rise, the words form, the tension in your chest. That's the moment. The test. And most people fail. They speak too soon. They move too fast. They give away the very thing they're trying to protect, their power. Now imagine a different outcome. Same insult, same provocation. But this time you pause. You feel the urge to react, but you don't. You let the words land but not enter. You observe, then decide, not worth it. And you walk away, not in retreat but in command. That's not weakness, that's dominance. The man who doesn't flinch holds the room. The man who stays calm owns the moment. Epictetus said, if someone tries to hurt you and you don't accept the injury, then they failed, because pain requires permission. Insults need agreement to stick. But when you meet their noise with stillness, when you stop responding to every push, you rise above their reach. You become untouchable, not because you fight harder, but because you don't fight at all. This doesn't mean becoming passive. You still take action when necessary. You set boundaries. You speak the truth. But you choose the battlefield. You don't get dragged into every petty war. You don't explain yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You don't argue with noise. You walk through it. That's stoic emotional strength. That's calm mindset training in practice. The next time someone tries to provoke you, try this. Pause for 3 seconds. Just 3. In silence, feel everything, but act on nothing. Ask yourself, do I really want to give them this much control? Then decide. That pause is the space where character is formed. That stillness is what separates the strong from the reactive. Train this daily. In small moments, at the grocery store, in traffic, during arguments. Refuse to respond just to feel better. Let your silence speak for you. Let your calm unsettle them. The man who needs to shout has already lost something. The man who doesn't blink makes everyone else shift. Let them talk. Let them mock. Let them try. But protect your energy like it's gold. Because in the end, it is. When you no longer react to every provocation, you gain something rare. You gain clarity. You gain peace. You gain yourself back. Start now. Find one situation today where you would normally snap and don't. Smile, breathe, move on. That's how a Stoic wins. Quietly, completely, without ever playing their game. 4. Treat each situation as a character test. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. That moment of irritation, that challenge that caught you off guard, it's not chaos, it's a mirror. Life is showing you who you are when things stop going your way. Most people flinch, they complain, they ask, why me? But the Stoic man asks, what am I being called to build within myself right now? Pain isn't personal, it's instructional. Every frustration is a weight for your character to lift. Every setback is a forge for your discipline. But only if you stop reacting and start responding. Only if you stop seeing yourself as the victim and start seeing yourself as the architect of your inner strength. The world doesn't get easier. You just get better at facing it. When someone disrespects you at work, when your partner snaps without warning, when a plan crumbles right before the finish line, you're standing in the gym of life. And you have 2 choices. You either let that moment shrink you, or you let it sharpen you. Most men get angry and blame. A Stoic breathes, observes, learns, and then decides, I will not waste this pain. The truth is, ease doesn't shape character. Stress does. Discomfort does. That difficult conversation, that betrayal, that delay, they're not blocks in your path. They are the path. But you only see it that way when you stop running from them and start using them. Marcus Aurelius wrote, the fire turns what it consumes into flame. That's not poetry. That's training. The thing that was supposed to break you becomes part of your fuel. It's easy to be kind when people are kind. It's easy to be calm when the world cooperates. But when someone yells in your face, when life throws the unexpected, when your pride is bruised, then you see the truth. Then your values are no longer theory. They're tested. That's when strength counts. Not in comfort, but in pressure. And the man who can hold himself steady under pressure is the man who can walk through anything. Don't wait for the world to make it easier for you to grow. It won't. What you can do is change the way you see difficulty, not as a disruption, but as an invitation. You're being invited to step into a stronger version of yourself. And you don't need a perfect life to do that. You just need to treat every uncomfortable moment as training, even the small ones. Especially the small ones, the delayed email, the cold look, the traffic jam. That's where the work is done. Quietly, daily, intentionally. Here's how you apply it. The next time you feel your frustration rising, catch it early. Don't run from it. Name it. Then ask, what is this shaping in me? And decide on purpose how you will respond. Will you raise your voice and lose control? Or will you stand still and build endurance? Will you argue, or will you refine your ability to stay composed? Strength isn't something you switch on, it's something you practice, in moments just like this. Not by pretending you don't feel, but by choosing not to let what you feel own you. You're allowed to struggle, but you're not required to collapse. You're allowed to feel the burn. But you're also capable of turning that burn into fuel. So the next time life pushes back, don't take it as an insult. Take it as your opportunity, your chance to train what no one else can see, your character, your command, your quiet power. 5. Observe emotions without letting them rule. A man doesn't fall because he feels. He falls because he obeys every feeling. Anger rises and he acts. Fear whispers and he freezes. Shame appears and he hides. But what if you could watch all of it, like clouds drifting across the sky, without becoming the storm yourself? This is not about denying your emotions. It's about disarming their control. Emotions are signals. They arrive fast. They carry heat. But they are not commands. You are not your rage. You are not your anxiety. You are the one who sees them come, and if you learn to watch without merging, you stay free. Freedom isn't found in suppressing how you feel. It's found in refusing to be dragged by it. And that is a choice you can train, like a muscle. The Stoics didn't say you shouldn't feel. They said, feel it, but don't follow it blindly. Imagine you're standing in a crowded room. Someone mocks you. You feel the flash. Your jaw tightens. Your heart kicks. That's real. But now pause. Instead of snapping, you breathe. Instead of striking back, you name it. This is anger. I feel it, but I will not act on it. You've just broken the chain. You've just taken the wheel. Most people never do that. They live in reaction. They believe if it's felt, it must be expressed. But Stoic practice teaches the opposite. That between stimulus and action, a space exists. And in that space, you reclaim control. This is where emotional strength is built. Not in pretending nothing touches you, but in standing still while the storm rages inside. To do that, you must practice awareness. Noticing, without judgment. A thought comes, you don't grab it. A feeling rises, you don't let it speak for you. You observe. And by observing, you create distance. And in that distance, you find your power. Too often, we act before we think and then blame the world for the damage. But the root of chaos is never what happened outside. It's what happened inside that you never questioned. When you give emotions the microphone, your values are silenced. When you let impulses lead, your wisdom sits in the corner unused. A Stoic man reverses that order. He sees the fire but chooses not to burn. He feels the sting but doesn't strike. Because he knows that strength isn't in force, it's in restraint. And restraint is not weakness, it's clarity. It's the quiet command of someone who has learned to wait, watch, and then choose. You can start this practice at any moment. At work, when frustration builds. At home, when disappointment sets in. When tired, when provoked. Before you speak, pause. Before you act, check in. Ask yourself, how do I feel, but what do I want to build with this feeling? If the answer is nothing useful, let it pass. If the answer is growth, then act, but only after the storm inside you has calmed. Even 10 seconds of awareness can change everything. That's not a theory, that's training. Emotional resilience isn't loud or showy. It doesn't need applause. It lives in the silence between the emotion and your choice. And each time you pause, that silence grows stronger. You may feel like you're losing something by not reacting, but what you're actually doing is gaining everything. Your balance, your vision, your dignity. The world does not need more men who scream back. It needs more men who remain still, see clearly, and move only when it's time. So start now. The next time your emotions rise like a wave, don't fight them and don't follow them. Stand, breathe, observe, and walk forward by choice, not by impulse. 6. Be grateful even in discomfort. Gratitude is easy when the sun is shining and everything flows. But when the morning starts with bad news, when someone you trust lets you down, when traffic steals an hour from your life, what do you do then? Most people complain. They replay the moment. They search for someone to blame, and with every complaint, they dig deeper into bitterness. But the Stoic doesn't dig. He rises. Because he knows gratitude isn't reserved for comfort, it's a tool for clarity. To be grateful in pain is not to pretend it doesn't hurt. It's to recognize that inside discomfort lives a chance to grow. A moment to sharpen patience, to test endurance, to stretch humility. While others get lost in what's missing, the Stoic looks for what's available. A lesson, a shift in perspective, an inner muscle being exercised. He sees discomfort not as an interruption to peace, but as the place where peace is proven real. Picture this: you're waiting in line, running late, your phone is buzzing, and nothing is moving. You feel the heat rise, the urge to sigh, to snap, to wish the world would cooperate. But instead, you breathe. You look around, and you tell yourself, this too can teach me. Suddenly, it's not a line, it's a training ground. You're not wasting time, you're building tolerance. That shift, that single choice to reframe the moment, is how emotional strength is forged. Most men avoid discomfort. They chase convenience, but that creates softness, not strength. You grow when life pushes back and you choose to lean in. When you decide to ask, what is this frustration revealing about me? That question turns annoyance into insight. And when you can thank the moment for showing you what still needs work, you've taken your first step into real resilience. Seneca said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." That's not a metaphor, that's reality. Growth doesn't come from ease, it comes from resistance. But only if you meet resistance with the right mindset. Gratitude is that mindset. Not gratitude for injustice or cruelty, but for the opportunity to respond better than before. This is the shift. You stop asking life to be easier. You start asking to be stronger, and every hard moment becomes an answer to that request. Gratitude, then, becomes a strategy. You use it to rewire how you experience setbacks. It doesn't mean liking everything that happens. It means not wasting anything that happens, pain included. So here's your practice. At the end of each day, recall one moment that annoyed you, one small irritating scene. Then ask, what did this moment allow me to practice? Did it demand patience? Did it test my ego? Did it remind me to breathe before speaking? That's your gratitude. Not the event, but the chance it gave you. Write it down, speak it out, let it reframe how you meet tomorrow. Most people live reacting. The Stoic lives refining. He doesn't wish for comfort, he trains for clarity. And when pain arrives, he greets it with stillness, not panic. He doesn't welcome every situation, but he refuses to leave any situation without gaining something. Start doing this, not once a week, every day. Find gratitude where it hurts, plant it where it's missing, and watch how your mind begins to shift, not toward fake positivity, but toward real emotional independence. That kind of gratitude makes you calm in the chaos, focused on the noise, and more alive in the moment than anyone else around you. 7. Use time perspective to shrink problems. A small fire feels enormous when your face is too close to the flame, but take a step back and it's nothing but a flicker. That's what time does to problems. It shrinks them, not by changing the event, but by changing your view. What feels unbearable today often becomes insignificant when seen from a greater distance. But most people never take that step back. They live with their face pressed against every irritation, every insult, every delay, burning in moments that could have passed. Time perspective is the Stoic's scalpel. It cuts through the illusion that now is all that matters. It teaches you to ask a better question. Will this still matter in a month, a year, 5? And suddenly that sarcastic comment, that canceled plan, that missed opportunity, it all loses weight. Because most things that shake you aren't permanent, they're passing. And the mind that knows how to wait doesn't suffer twice. You miss a flight, you lose a deal, someone forgets to say thank you. In that instant, your heart races, your mind races faster. You build stories, rehearse responses, fuel resentment. But what if you paused, not to deny the moment, but to see beyond it? What if you whispered to yourself, "This will pass. I won't even remember this next year"? That thought alone can drain the poison out of almost any emotion. Not by force, but by framing. The mistake most men make is believing urgency equals importance. They treat everything as critical. Every argument feels final. Every mistake feels fatal. But urgency lies, and the Stoic knows that. He doesn't rush to fight battles that time would dissolve on its own. He conserves his energy. He knows which pain to engage with and which pain to outlast. That's not indifference, that's discipline. Imagine standing in a storm, rain pounding, wind howling. You're soaked, shivering, angry at the sky. But then someone tells you, It'll pass in 5 minutes. You wouldn't panic. You'd wait. That's what perspective gives you. The ability to hold your ground, not because it's easy, but because you know it's temporary. You suffer more when you believe storms are forever. But the wise man knows, most aren't. Seneca once reminded us, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. When you apply time to pain, you shrink the imagination's grip. That quiet insult? Gone by next week. That failure? A stepping stone by next year. That heartbreak? A memory with edges dulled by time. And when you know that deeply, you stop bleeding from paper cuts. Here's a simple practice. When something upsets you, don't ask, why is this happening to me? Ask, how long will this matter? Then answer honestly, the truth is shorter than your reaction. That's your signal to release it. And releasing isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Let the emotion come, feel it, but don't build your identity around it. Let time carry it away while you remain grounded. You don't owe every discomfort a response. You don't need to explain your calm to people addicted to urgency. You just need to know that your peace grows as your perspective widens. Let time be your ally. Use it to filter what deserves your energy and what doesn't. And soon, you'll realize how many of your problems only felt big because you stood too close. Back up. Breathe. Zoom out. In 5 years, most of what you stress about today won't even make the highlight reel. So stop letting passing clouds block your light. Let time reveal what matters. Let perspective return your peace. And walk through this day with a mind anchored in distance, not noise. That's how you rise, quietly, unshaken. Every man wants strength, not the loud kind that seeks attention, but the silent kind that cannot be shaken. What you've heard today isn't theory, it's practice. It's the quiet discipline of emotional control, the ability to pause, to think, to choose, and to protect your peace like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. When you begin to master your reactions, lower your expectations of others, and treat every frustration as a test of character, you shift. You stop being a slave to your emotions. You stop being pulled in every direction by noise, by people, by circumstances. You start living with clarity. The Stoics weren't saints. They were men who struggled like you. But they trained their minds daily, through self-reflection, through stillness, through deliberate response. And now you can do the same. You don't need perfect conditions to begin. You just need presence. You need practice. You need to remember that inner peace is not found. It's built, habit by habit, choice by choice. So today, start small. When someone says something rude, don't respond. When your plans shift, don't complain. When discomfort shows up, meet it with awareness. Train your emotional strength like a muscle. Let every challenge become your practice ground. And over time, the world will remain loud, but you won't. I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. What moment recently tested your peace? How did you respond? Let this space become your journal of growth, a reflection of who you are becoming. Remember, true calm isn't the absence of conflict. It's the refusal to surrender your mind to chaos. Hold that truth, live it, and carry it with you, quietly but unshakably.